Okay. So thank you, Ebe. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and for making time for today's training session. This is WACOM, the West Africa Competitiveness Program. To some of us on this call, it's a household name. To others, it may be a new thing. But it's a project that is funded by the European Union and implemented in Ghana by UNIDO. We're working on 3 main value chains: on cosmetics and personal care products, on cassava and its derivatives, and then fruits, mainly mangoes and pineapples. All we're doing as a project is to contribute to support the competitiveness of the Ghanaian economy so that SMEs and all other companies will be in a position to compete both on the domestic and international markets. We've been working for the past 4 years, since 2019, and we are in the final year of implementation. Today's event marks part of all that we've been doing with various SMEs and government institutions. We've been partnering with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture on other aspects. We've also been working closely with Ministry of Trade and Industry, especially with the 1D1F Secretariat, providing support to a number of SMEs or factories under the 1D1F. We work with 5 main Cs, and today is within one of the Cs. So to give you a quick update, in 30 seconds, we will begin the training. So our first C talks of coordination, working within other stakeholders to work and then improve the coordination within all the value chains we work with. That's the coordinate. Then we talk about compete, which is working with clusters. We believe individual SMEs cannot be competitive till we work together and then be able to get bigger orders, be able to work and source for materials, production materials, and make things happen for everybody. Then we talk about conform, which is why we are here. With conform, it's all about training, providing compliance, supporting SMEs to be compliant to standards. And today, our national quality expert, Fred, will take us through the food safety tidbits and see how we can be compliant there. Then we have Connect, which is about market access and selling. In every produce that is produced on your shelf, you have to go through a particular outlet, a chain, for it to be absorbed by somebody so that consumers like myself and others pay for this. The last on is credit. I think if we do a survey this morning, about 99.5% will tell me they need credit. They need access to cash, so we'll be able to pay. So we work with the banks and various financial institutions, providing support to finances, access to finance, and then we also have what we call the subcontractor matching scheme, which a number of us here have been able to assess and also improve our presentation and our market access on it. So this morning, as I said earlier, Fred is taking us through what we call food safety standards training. And today he's going to give us the intricacies of what we have to do to enhance our food safety.
Sorry, Charles, I had to mute everybody because if you keep your mics opened, it's impossible to hear Charles when he speaks. Yes. So please kindly mute all your mics when you connect so that we can have a proper training. Thank you.
Thank you, Ebe. So today, Fred will have the floor, will give us all the tidbits on food safety, what we have to do to make sure the food that we produce are healthy, what measures we have to take in our processing centers, even if it's in the kitchen. Because even in our basic kitchens, we need to observe food safety, food hygiene, so that the food we produce for our households do not poison us, and that the children and everybody who eats from the kitchen would be happy and will be satisfied. So we would have the session. Once you have any questions, please, you can put them in the chat box. When Fred is done, we'll go through every question that is in there, and they'll also give chance, if you didn't type your questions, to have a one-on-one engagement with him. So for us here, today's session, and then tomorrow we'll have another session on HACCP. So Fred, you have the floor. Before you do, Ebe, is there something you want to say, or we move straight with Fred?
Yeah, no, I just want to congratulate you, I mean, the team, Moti and the 1D1F program, because I mean, I see lots of interest in this topic, and this is no surprise, of course. UNIDO, as Charles mentioned, is working towards enhancing quality of products and safety of products. And this is exactly why we are here today to accompany you and to make things a bit clearer, hopefully. So for me, it's a pleasure to see that there is such great interest, and of course we are here as UNIDO, as WACOMP team, to assist Moti and to assist the 1D1F program to build capacity of companies. So besides the direct intervention that we do in the 3 value chains that Charles mentioned, so fruits, cassava, and cosmetics, of course, we are leaving a legacy to Moti and to the 1D1F program to be able to support other companies in the country, with the final objective of making Ghana a place where quality products are produced and then safe products are traded. So it's really, really a pleasure to assist in this. And I'm sure that today you will have a very comprehensive overview today and tomorrow. You will have a very comprehensive view of what HACCP means from the kitchen to the factory. And I really encourage you to note down all the questions, to use the chat to also write to Charles and to Fred your questions, and for sure we will be able to reply to it at the end of the presentation, and then we can also try to prepare some kind of wrap-up document on the main questions. And then, of course, for the companies that we are currently coaching and assisting on the implementation, we will also have bilateral meetings on how to concretely implement all this. So enjoy the training. I'm sure you will have a lot to chew, but hopefully also a lot to learn. And thank you. And I wish you 2 very productive days on this training. Fred, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ebe. So Ebe is our program manager, and she's joining us from Vienna. Ebe, thank you for your presence and your contribution. So Fred, you have the floor. We'll be in the background listening to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ebe. Thank you, Charles. And I welcome everybody on today's webinar. I also want to welcome Mr. Kufiado of Moti 1D1F and Mary from 1D1F. Because we have quite a number of issues to consider, I will always try to deal with the most complicated ones, and I'll give you quite a number of documents to read. As you're reading material through that, you learn quite a lot, because these 2 subjects are very important if you want to become competitive. So first of all, let me give you some pieces of information to guide you. I will present a few topics. And first, I will start with giving you some kind of analysis regarding HACCP implementation in Ghana. And then I will also want to assure you that you'll give you a certificate, but I cannot give you a certificate of achievement. I'll give you a certificate of attendance, because certificate of achievement will come with exit examination. You may not have the opportunity to have that exam. And then I will ask my assistant to give you all the documentation. I'm giving it to you from my heart because I charge for this documentation, but because I want to be a patriotic Ghanaian. I'm giving it to you. When you have interest, further interest, then you can, read, and where you don't have a deeper understanding, you can call on me and I'll give you that. So I'm giving you this. Some are manuals that I've sold to companies and I've taken money. So now social responsibility, I have to give them out to you, especially the 1D, 1F companies for free. And then I will try to explain why.
Fred, just a moment. I'm seeing two hands up. I don't know why. Fred wrote in another Frederick Nati. He says you are breaking. Frederick, it might be from your end, because from my end, he's very clear.
Okay, please. Am I okay now? Is it loud and clear?
No, from my side, you are very loud and clear. So maybe it might be from Frederick Nati's location.
Sorry, Fred, but don't worry. Whatever I say will be recorded, and I'll give you quite a number of material to read. Your reading material is quite enormous, so don't worry at all. And then after that, I did not give you the training materials now because I don't want to be distracted, or you to be distracted as I'm trying to explain certain points. Maybe you are trying to read, but please take notes. And at the end of the day, you get the training materials. So let me share some of the things that I want to discuss this morning. And from there, you can also ask your questions. Today, we are going to focus on HACCP. HACCP, the subject that most food entities or even restaurant, anything regarding food, will want to know. And then you move it up a little tomorrow to do the food safety management system, which is based on the ISO standard 22000, the one that was published or upgraded in 2018. So let me take you through the scenario here in Ghana regarding HACCP. I'll give you an overview, but before I do the overview, let me give you some highlights on the HACCP analysis, the situation in Ghana. So let me stop sharing this and give you that paper, because you need to understand where we are coming from. So let me start with the session 1. That is the situation in Ghana. Sorry, this is just ordinary word, but I think you can see my screen very well. The session 1 will give you an intro to what this concept, HACCP, food safety system, is all about. And here we are looking at the certification and the implementation of HACCP in Ghana across board, because it's talking about food safety. I will not take you through the details, because when we talk about food safety, it means quite a lot. So globally, or if you like worldwide, food safety management systems implementation and certification had increased over the years. And this reflects the importance of that standard in our operations. I'm referring to HACCP application in our food operations. So this workshop, we will try to reflect what we believe, we in the management system, especially food safety practitioners, believe to be the pioneering contribution to characterize food safety management systems. And I will encourage all food practitioners to adopt this system. Sometimes when you talk about management system, you try to restrict it to a few ones that you know, but it cuts across. So you realize that you'll be mentioning the generic one, which is the ISO 9000, the quality management system. You mentioned some private standards like the BRC, the IFS, and all other private standards. The bottom line is that they are all trying to ensure safety, food safety, whether prepared or raw food, the safety of that item to the consumer. So let's look at it from this point. Food safety management system. And I've said that there are several food safety management systems. The foundation, the basic is HACCP. So let's start our discussion, the two-day discussion from the foundation, which is food safety arising out of the HACCP principles. Some of us will benefit from the detailed training that we will have at the factory level, because some quality experts are assisting some of these SMEs at the factory level. Just a pilot, there are not many, but those who have that benefit will get to know the details in the application of these principles. But for now, let's look at the food safety management system, which is a management system that tries to map out how an organization, here I'm referring to your company, can demonstrate its ability to control food hazards. This phrase, the demonstration of ability to control food hazard, is a challenge for most of us Ghanaian processors. The ability to demonstrate. Then the question is, how do we demonstrate? So demonstrate how we control food hazards. And food hazards are ubiquitous. They are all over. The hazards are there. They are within the environment, within us, even the human beings. So how do you demonstrate that you are able to control? And we are doing that to ensure that the food is safe. That definition of safe is what I was talking about. There are a lot of confusion depending on where you stand or the kind of thing you do, the products and other things. So it can be defined as the practical, in terms of what? Certainty, or it is practically certain that adverse health effect will not, I'll emphasize that word, will not result from the consumption of the food that you produce. Once I get ill, any ill effect arising out of what I have produced and offer for sale or consumption is considered, and I'm not able to prevent that my food or my product is not safe for human consumption. That is why when you go to the regulators, they are talking about what? Wholesomeness, fit for consumption. It will not give you health problems. So, welcome Ghana. Our aim for organizing some of this training is to provide fact-based insights. That's the principle coming from management system. It should be fact-based. It has evidence to prove that we are able to explain the ISO 22000 certification and the motivations and benefits behind that. So what is the rationale? We are encouraging you to adopt the ISO 22000, which is one of the key food safety management system standards. What is the motivation? What are the benefits that you can derive? The other point we are trying to consider today is what is ISO 22000 main obstacles the difficulties and the drawbacks. It's a standard. If you don't understand the rationale or the elements within the standard, then you'll be confronted with these obstacles, difficulties, and the drawbacks. So that is our aim, trying to break it down so that everybody can understand. From experience, my own experience as a quality system practitioner and a coach, it is not a matter of Ghanaian enterprises not willing to implement some of these global standards, but the ability to understand the requirements within. And this will pose that drawback, that will create a main obstacle for the entity or the organization or the factory to implement and derive maximum benefits. You shall also look at the benefits and the costs. It's not cheap. I said it that if I decide to charge for this course, it will be a lot of money and a challenge because it's not cheap. Trust me, it's not cheap because I'm going to charge you on man hours or man days, which is quite a lot of money. So you want to do this so that you weigh the benefits vis-a-vis the cost. I'm talking about even the direct costs of food management system implementation. After that, the next step is that when you are ready or well prepared, then you can apply for the certification, which is an attestation that you have what it takes to implement or to prevent your product to cause harm, that we are able to handle all the intrinsic hazards within what you produce or within the environment where you produce food from. Okay, then what are the systems? The food management system. The market is evolving. Consumers are becoming very alert. Because of internet, they can get the information that I ate ice cream, I ate kinky, I ate banku, and I had issues in the evening. They can tell you or suggest or guess where the issue is coming from, even before they see the doctor. So that is why we are trying to do this, so that when you're able to achieve certification, you should be in the position to maintain it. So there are quite a number of issues surrounding food safety. So we are saying that food safety management systems, you have the protocols, the procedures, the standards, and the people qualified, well-trained, have the competence, the capability to produce, avoiding contamination, to provide the necessary environment devoid of what? Contaminants, or reduce probability to contaminate your final product. So the ISO came out with this standard, which spells out all the requirements, the elements right from the farm to the fork. So you say from farm to fork, okay? Where you harvest through to the value addition stages, where you do your manufacturing or production, to the table you serve for the consumer to take. This standard will cover all those issues that needs to be addressed. It has gone through several revisions. The current edition was published in 2018. So most of us will want to refer to the 2018 edition when we are trying to establish a food safety management system. Like I said earlier, this standard, global standard, ISO 22000, the food safety management system standard, is based on the Codex Alimentarius Commission standard. Codex is, the branch in FAO that deals with food standards. There are standards which spells out the hazard analysis and critical control points principles. Because I'm not going to the details, there are 7 principles within this Codex document. Okay, and this principle will be applicable within a certain framework of activities. And that's at the 12. So within that steps, the phases, you have to incorporate the principle. So if you say that you are implementing a HACCP principle-based food safety system, you should handle the 7 principles. I'll give you the paper that talks about that. So what are you saying? You are saying that companies or enterprises that has HACCP in full operation, very easy for them to implement ISO 22000. Please, I will say this again. If you don't have HACCP system in place, don't try to implement 22000 because it's an impossibility. You cannot do it. Okay, so the foundation is a HACCP. Try to create a HACCP-based food safety system. Then you advance to implement the 22000. Very comprehensive. Okay, so it will be very easy for you to do that. And once you have a very, if you like, robust HACCP system working, nobody has to convince you to implement ISO 22000 and get the global certificate for food safety. Voluntary to come because you have the foundation. Also, another point that I said that if you have the management system in, you work with those principles, applying other systems becomes very easy. If we have ISO 9001, which is a quality standard, that generic thing that cuts across all disciplines, you will see that you have a direct influence on the implementation of a HACCP in your company. Because before 22000 was developed, those who have 9001 system in place just have to add the HACCP principles, that is 7 principles, and they have a full-fledged food safety management system like the ISO 22000. So all I'm saying is that in practice, HACCP application in regulation, which is part of our system in Ghana, has contained elements that deals with the process, the performance, and information standards. So if you're going to register your facility or your product at the Food and Drugs Authority, they expect you to know your process from A to Z. They expect you to know the performance in terms of hygiene, in terms of wholesomeness, and the information labeling. And this is some of the bottlenecks, the challenges that we do not have. So eventually, it turns out that we are not meeting the conformance criteria. So we say, you don't conform to the standard or the regulation. That will help us register your facility. In the European Union, because I'm talking for UNIDO and Wacom Ghana, together with MOTI, I'm saying that in the European Union, they have replaced these prescriptive regulations that says, oh, have a certificate or testimonial for GMP. GMP, which is good manufacturing practice, is just a prerequisite within the HACCP system. And within HACCP system, we have several prerequisite programs. Good hygienic practice is one. Good manufacturing practice is another. Good packaging practice, good warehousing, good transportation. Okay? They are all prerequisite programs. They are saying that if you have well-established and implemented food safety system, they are not going to prescribe this, that you should have A, you have B. But your system should be flexible enough to cater for all these requirements. So HACCP is a very flexible system. So adoption of HACCP as a regulatory standard has been motivated first because of what? Food safety concerns. And the second reason is the desire to facilitate trade. So you see the two-pronged approach from Wacom, UNIRO Wacom Ghana, trying to address the food safety concerns of manufacturers or producers, and also to facilitate trade. You become competitive if your system encompasses all these principles. That will help you what? Address food safety concerns, and that will also make you what? Competitive. Meaning it will facilitate your entrance into other markets. That is why I mentioned that those standards, the quality management standards, that talks about quality principles. The food safety, talking about HACCP, that also talks about what? Principles. And management, which will help you address all those things comprehensively and in a very systematic and logical manner. So we are addressing these challenges because you want you to address the food safety concern, and we want to make you competitive, that to facilitate. So let's look at some of the benefits of HACCP, being able to implement HACCP. Before I go into the technical, that will be boring, because if you are not coming from the quality assurance or quality control, unit or department, it's like I'm speaking Greek. But this is just to explain the rationale behind the implementation of this standard and the benefit thereof. One, if you're able to implement the HACCP system well, the way it should be implemented, I say if you need help, seek the technical people, seek the management system practitioners, their help, and you will be there. It's not anything difficult, it's doable, but you need to understand the processes. One, cost reduction. Cost reduction. You will not produce 20 tons of, let's say, gari or mango juice, and you tell it's contaminated, and therefore you can't sell it. Sometimes you cannot even identify the contaminants so that you can address it. You will not even know where it's coming from, because some of the processes are not on point. You don't demand material safety data sheets from your suppliers. You don't have supplier, evaluation criteria. You don't even know the specification for what you are producing. The level of what? Lead, arsenic, pesticide, residues, you don't know. So at the end of the day, you render your product unwholesome, and therefore you cannot sell. What has happened to you? Waste of resources. So to reduce costs, please implement. Okay. The second point is the system, the HACCP system, which is the HACCP analysis and critical control point. If you take these words, you understand everything that is embedded in this terminology. If you are able to implement it and get the certificate, that is the implementation, it is assessed, it's matured, it meets all the requirements, and therefore you get the attestation, that is the certification. You are certified that you meet all the requirements regarding the quality and then the safety aspect of the product, and therefore you can sell. This will give you access to new markets. It is not a magic wand. You can't cut corners and access any new market because these two elements, you claim you have implementation, you claim you have certificate, they will subject those claims to rigorous technical and scientific analysis before they grant you access. More especially when you want to go into a more sophisticated consumer market. Trust me, even the aesthetics, the way it looks. So you're looking at the quality aspect and the food safety aspect before they give you access. The other point is that, the third point, this will increase your sales. So increase of sales volume. That's how you grow business. Okay? The other part is that it will increase the product shelf life or the shelf time because it does not contain contaminant, especially the microbials that will cause spoilage. So the product can be on the shelf for a very long time. Bottom line, what are you trying to address? Food safety concerns. So it will reduce what? The risk. Risk is what? The HACCP, as we're talking about, the magnitude and the possibility that will cause risk. So I told you the hazards are there, but it's up to you to identify them and come out with what? The mechanism to manage those hazards so that it will not develop into either low, medium, or high risk, which will render your final product useless, unwholesome, and therefore cannot enter the market. Good. What are you saying? You are saying that the product will become safer if you are able to implement the HACCP system the way it should be. Well, the potential non-safety products will decrease because you know what to do to minimize the risk factor. So manufacturers, I will encourage you to become more committed to hygiene and food safety aspects of your operations. It is very important for SMEs in Ghana, based on the analysis that I've done so far, okay, to apply the relevant product standard and implement HACCP if you want to succeed. Because after all the investment, all the money that we get from the bank or whatever, if at the end of the day, our product is rendered unwholesome and therefore cannot enter any markets, and you even have legal issues with the regulators, what have you achieved? So the basic principle is that apply the standard so that you know the elements that you should address, talking about conformance, and then also implement a system that will help you identify all those hazards and control them so that your end product will become what? Wholesome. And therefore, you can sell, increase the volumes, gain new markets, and sometimes even craft a niche for your product in Ghana. Thank you. Any question before I move on to the session 2? So this has given you, and I'll give you a copy of this paper. It's just a 2-page document. When you want to sleep and you can't sleep, read it, you will sleep. Thank you very much. So any questions? Any questions? Madam Judith, your body language tells me you want to ask questions. Go ahead, feel free. Judith Newlove, Mensa.
Yes, Mr. Jawar.
Yes, madam.
So, question. If I'm starting a little catering business,
Perfect.
You know, just for maybe friends and family, if they are having functions and stuff like that, would I need to, well, I know I need to practice HACCP, but would I need to get an inspector to come and have a look and ensure that I'm doing the right thing?
Correct.
Thank you.
My answer, candid advice, is that no matter how little, how small, and the intention, once it's going to be consumed by human beings, I would advise that you have somebody who has the technical knowledge, the technical eye to look at it and advise. There is a difference between you implementing, okay, and then you going for the HACCP certification. That is where the cost is high. But trying to implement, educate yourself, just like how you ensure food coming out of your kitchen will not poison, will not contaminate, or if like it's wholesome for consumption. Okay? So the person tell even how you store your water. You know, some areas in Ghana, water, getting potable water is a challenge. So the fact that getting potable water is a challenge does not mean you should use contaminated water for preparation. So you are not there yet. It's a small business. Try to acquire that habits. Okay? And I told you some of the habits are the prerequisite program, talking about good practices, good storage practice. Will you store your tomatoes together with carbolic soup? Correct. That is a practice. Hygienic practice. When you visit the washroom, you wash. So when COVID came and people were complaining about hand washing, those in the factories were not complaining because it's your habit. If you don't have that character, you can't work in any factory. Okay, so that is it. So you can have an inspector. If you don't have that level of competence to do it yourself, to come and assist. After reading some of the things that I'll give you, you can do it yourself. When it comes too much for you, then you invite an inspector. But if you want to go for the certification, it's one of the processes within that. Yes. Oh. Please mention your name so that you capture you on our record, please.
Yeah.
Can I? Yes. Your name, please. Start with your name so that you all benefit from your contribution. Say, you didn't hear you, please.
If your network is weak, kindly type in the questions. We'll read it out. Yes. So Fred, you can
Oh, okay.
Yes, if your network is weak, type the question.
Can you get me now?
Yes, try again. Let's see.
But can you get me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, okay. This is Mr. Jiman.
Okay. Sajma, go on.
Yeah, my question is that after benefiting from the ISO 22,000 and then the HACCP, can you also give a training to other small business in your locality that are also not and perhaps they also again recommend them to you for
okay. Your line was breaking, but I think I'll manage it. Yes, you see, we started some, if you like, general training face-to-face last year, okay? And the intention was that you scale it up. That was supposed to be a train of train kind of thing. We are ending the program, but you are still trying to encourage some of you to also learn the skills from us. I don't know whether some of our quality assistants are within your jurisdiction or helping some of the 1D, 1F, or even the UNIDO SMEs in your area. They will come and give you details. If you are not able to get that, please, the direct contact with us here, UNIDO, so that I can send you very simplified materials so that you also acquire the skills and help others. Trust me, I've taught this course in local languages, and the people are now able to practice HACCP. Because you enter the facility, those who can read and write are very few, and yet they want to implement this. This is basic food hygiene, basic practices. So we are able to bring it down to their level for them to do. And sometimes I always like the coaching approach. I'm not there to come and give you a lecture. We are not writing thesis. I want you to know how to do it. So the approach is holding hands, teaching you what to do, that when you bring in new raw material, put A here, B there, C there, record the number of A, number of B, number of C, examine whether some of the A's are going bad. These are practical training lessons. So, my brother, it's possible, but we don't have ample time now to give you those coaching, the training, so that you can also go and train others. But Mr. Adu is here, Mary is here, you can suggest this to them and see whether they can also approach UNIDO Welcome for assistance. Thank you. Yes, your hand is up.
Yes, yes, this is Reverend Nati.
Nati, Rev.
Yes, from Osiru Farm.
Yes, I remember the name. You are the Kumasi.
No, I'm rather in Dodua.
Dodua, but
we are the producers of the only fruit juice in Ghana.
I understand. Please go ahead.
Yes, yes. I want to suggest that some of us have a background in quality.
Great.
So having gone through this HACCP training, and others, those of our friends, SMEs, who might be having challenges, we can share.
You can share. You can
so
invite.
That together we go.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You can
so
share.
I'm making this suggestion, and then we can note it.
Thank you very much.
I've been in the food industry for 22 years.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So you learn from each other. That is what I was encouraging everybody to do. Be a patriotic citizen, Ghanaian. help others to achieve success. Thank you, Rev. Godwin, Yabua, please, the floor is yours. Godwin, can you hear me? Can you hear me, please? Godwin cannot hear. Okay, it's almost, you spent 1 hour, almost, no, a little. I will end this session and start the second session. I've said that I'll give you quite substantial amount of reading material to read, because we cannot cover all this within these 2 hours. So let me end this and continue with the second session. Is that okay? Charles?
Yeah, Fred, you may proceed.
Okay. So I'll take you to something that the one that I said I'm using as my social responsibility. And that will give you an introduction to HACCP. Very detailed. So I may not go through all the slides, but I'll mention a few. Before I share that, I want you to have a pictorial view of what HACCP is all about. So that beginners, you don't have to struggle to know everything right from the word go. Okay, you see I've projected something. Somebody wants to ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Drummer.
Yeah, please go ahead.
This is Eureka Kafui Tamakolo.
Oh, Kafui, welcome.
Thank you, sir. About the training of the other SMEs.
Yes. Training of other SMEs, please go on.
Is it not possible that the person should be encouraged to get certification for the HACCP and also the ISO 22000?
Correct. In my lessons learned, that is the lessons I try to share, as I will give it to you. One of the challenges, okay, as a practitioner is that if you start with the demand to go for certification, you may discourage the person. Okay. Kafi, are you listening to me?
Yes, please.
You may not have the budget to run through the HACCP certification. I'll give you just a tip. Trying to put your prerequisite programs in order, just in order. You are talking about infrastructure and other. So the prerequisites are activities and Fred, things that you have to do. It's a lot Fred, of money. Yes.
His question is not with the SME. His question is with regards to somebody who wants to train somebody that isn't in the need for the fellow to have certification before you go and give information to somebody else. That's his question.
Okay. Thank you very much for the clarity. It is, but Kafui, you know the challenge here in Ghana. How many people, apart from those who have written the ICA exams and have the certificate, there is no regulation to say that this is a consultant, this is an expert. Everybody is running all over the place proclaiming they are consultant. Sometimes when I listen to their delivery, I know it is not the fact. So ideally, you should have people who have been trained and certified as trainers. It's only ICA. We try to do that in Ghana, just like the quality, the institute, which is associated with ICA in UK. But that one, you need money to register as a professional, just like a lawyer or doctor or whoever to practice. Here you don't have. So that may be a problem. But there is an ISO guide, how to select and choose somebody that you can call a consultant or a practitioner. So Kafui, that is the challenge. You don't have any means of identifying who has been certified or trained and qualified as a trainer. The only thing is that you, the client, you have to demand certain documentation. Okay. And that is why Reverend Tete said he has been that. That one we are talking about a practitioner. It's not a paper certificate. And you could see that when you go through the resume, he has done that, and you can verify to see whether he has that competence or not.
Okay.
Yes, so that is it. So, and two,
yeah.
When we get such people, they are very expensive. I told you, me, when you come and call me, showing all the proof, the resume that I should come and train you in HACCP, I'll look at your strength. And sometimes, depending on what I've done and what I've gained so far, I'll tell you, oh, I can give you proven 2-3 days free. But even that, if your factory is far away, maybe you are home or Tema free zones or Akosombo, you pay for my TNT, which is the cost. So
okay,
benefit from trainings like this, you need to, that was free. And you get the same materials. And after the training, if you have that one-on-one, I can give you source of a lot of material that I acquire by subscribing, paying. But I know you cannot pay $5,000 for some of those subscriptions. You can't. So you have to depend on free trainings like this. Thank you. Careful, it's ideal, but it's a challenge here in Ghana.
Okay. So thank you, sir.
Even those who are driving the standards for us to use, they charge GSA for being members of the standard committee. They charge them. So you see the challenge. It's not free like other jurisdictions, like your standard committee member. There's your corporate social responsibility. Here you pay. Every sitting, standards board has to pay you. Inspectors, they pay. Auditors, you pay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
So yes, I've understood it in both sides, where to get a certification for the company and also the individual to be trained to also get a certification. So in both sides, it's well understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the challenge for getting certificates in our country. So can you go on?
Yes, Fred, you may
yes,
proceed.
Okay. Quickly. I'm starting this.
May I suggest you also bolding the font size of what you have on the screen?
Anyway, how do I do that to get to a very big full screen? Eh? That's the best I can. Is that okay? No, I'll send you all these things, so don't worry. Those of you who have participated in that training for food safety, which is an European, entity that trains. You see this, and that is the approach. Those from some of the companies, they have the opportunity to have that training in Europe. This material will give you very simple explanation on how to. Just, it is a poster that I have done and I use for my training as part of my training material. That's why I cannot expand because of copyright issues. Is that okay? Can you see now?
Fine. No, that's fine. Let's go ahead.
So the HACCP implementation is like this. You have the root of HACCP, and you have this coming out of what? Prerequisite program, PRPs. And when you take the codex document, the standard, it will give you quite a number of PRPs. I'll use PRP because that you need to put in place even before you start thinking about implementing a HACCP system. So you see the roots. What are the roots? You are saying that, please, if you can't see when I read it out, the prerequisite, I will start with personnel hygiene. What is this side? So you can write it well because My color printer is not very good. Personnel hygiene. Then we have pest controls. I'm mentioning the prerequisite programs, activities, and processes that you should put in place before you start thinking about implementing HACCP. Then you have what? Transportation. I said good transportation system. The coders people will say good transport system practice, okay? You have water, which is very critical in all production. Here we are referring to potable water that will meet the WHO specification for potable water. Not the water from your pond, unless that water has been treated to meet the requirements of WHO potable water standard. Then here you go to what? Cleaning and disinfection. So that is why when the inspector comes, you want to see that your plant, your factory, where you produce clean, whether it's your kitchen, it's clean. When you are producing from your veranda or your garage, the challenge will be pest control, which is supposed to be what? A prerequisite. Good pest control practice. And here is beyond the control because you are producing from your garage or your veranda. Let's move on. So the inspector will tell you that no, non-compliant when it comes to pest control. Then we come to what? The product itself, the way you produce it, the production steps. That is why when you go to FDA, they ask for what? Your process manual. They want you to state everything clear, non-ambiguous terms, how you control your processes. Then you look at the premise, if you like, the starting point. Where are you producing? The location, waterlogged, flood prone, at some industrial enclaves where you have serious air pollution. That is the premise. It will not qualify. The kind of equipment that you are using, food processing, talking about stainless steel. Are you using wood tops as your cutting board? No. The floor, easy to clean, hard surface that will not soak water, and storage. These are all what? The prerequisite. This is the root of a HACCP system. Any question? Were you able to write? I will send you, as part of the document that we sent to you. Any question? The root of a HACCP. So please, before you say that, yes.
I'm sorry. I wanted to confirm whether you mentioned process manual that maybe FDA would require. Is it? Are you talking about the SOP?
SOP is just part of a process manual. SOP was standard operating procedure. For instance, how you receive raw material, that's an SOP. Or, in other words, some will say work instruction. It should be a subset of a manual, a comprehensive manual is like, if you like, the roadmap to everything that you do. For instance, at which point in your production, when you are doing a mixing, that's where you take samples for analysis or what? At what temperature do you do the mixing? These are all process, and they should be part and parcel of the process manual. Are you doing automation or manual mixing? What are you using to mix? You have a mixing machine, or you are using the ladle, a wooden? These are some of the things that FDA want to see. And who is doing the mixing? Has he been trained? Is he observing the proper personal hygiene protocols? So all this involves a lot of money, costs, the roots. That is why I was telling Kafui that, you see, it's a lot of, so when you start bringing in, other, I'm talking about the soft part, bringing the consultant or bringing an inspector to help you, you may discourage because you're even struggling to get a proper pest control person to manage the pests. That is why I said, it's not that Ghanaian manufacturers are running away from implementing HACCP system. Best way to go. But the challenge is cost. So you have to weigh the cost vis-a-vis the benefits, and you know where you want to go. And the demand, some projects went by, you said market norms. It was also implemented by MOTI, the market norms. Because each market where you want to sell has their own norms. That is the standard that you should meet. Okay? At which stage should you harvest your mango? Is it immediately after spraying? What are the, if you like, the pesticides allowable? If you go to EPA, they will give you those ones that are permitted, so that when you do the pesticide residue test, you will not fail, because that will be, product testing is always at the tail end. It's not a good thing. It's not proactive. It's reactive. The thing is loaded with pesticide, which is not allowed, DDT. You throw your consignment away. And how do you store? I mentioned example. Do you store your tomatoes together with carbolic soap? So these are the prerequisites. It's the foundation. Lay that foundation before you start thinking about HACCP. Any other question? Any question? Hello? Then let me go on. So now let's go to the tree.
Hello, sir.
Please come on. Mention your name. Mention your name and your question.
Yes, Mr. Jomla, this is Samuel.
Samuel.
Yes, please. I think there are some few questions in the chat box. I don't know whether you have addressed that.
Yeah,
yes.
I wanted to finish this because it's not clear. Then I'll come back to my normal screen.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
The chat, I will definitely, Charles will bring it to my attention, I'll answer them. But because when I take this chat off, I will not bring it back. So I want you to get it done. So I'm saying that before a HACCP plan is implemented, you have to implement your prerequisite programs. So if you don't have it, start thinking about how to have these PRPs in place. And I've mentioned, most of them are the good practices that you already know. Okay, so here, once you get it done, then you are ready to implement your HACCP program. So you will start with some steps, which are just administrative things. You come to step 5, and then when you are about to enter step 6, then you kick in the principle 1. You analyze the hazards. Then you move on to once that has been, and then classify as relevant or not relevant, significant or not significant in your system. That is why when you copy somebody's HACCP, a well-trained practitioner or auditor will know. Because the HACCPs are very specific and unique to your product. And even the methodology, how you process it. So please do your own HACCP analysis and come out with the critical control point. Here is another confusion stage, depending on where you study your HACCP or your food science or food technology. In the Americans, they have another subset. They call it control point. It's not all control points that are critical. Please note that when I come and I see that you've marked 10 CCP in your system, I say, go back and do your analysis again. It is not properly done. And I will tell you why later if you have time. Then we move on to principle 3. Once you've established your CCPs, you are saying that hazard analysis and critical control point. I say, if you know the meaning of this acronym, you know HACCP. So now you've established your critical control point. You have to establish the limits for this, because you want to control, you want to eliminate that risk. And that is where the management skills come in. So you establish the critical limits. How do you establish the critical limit? Refer to the standard document, the product standard document, or the system standard document. Then you establish your critical limits. And make sure this limit, you should be able to measure, quantify, and take a decision thereafter. Then we go to principle 4. You have to, once you have the limits, you should have a means of establishing what? Monetary actions. Monitoring, very crucial. Monitoring in quality management, monitoring in food safety, monitoring in environment, monitoring in occupational health and safety. All this management system, there is a stage where you have to monitor. So we take monetary actions. Then you move on to principle 5. Once you know from your monitoring results, things are not okay, you have to establish corrective action. But in food safety, the two components here, you do correction before you come to what is termed the corrective action, because you should establish the root cause of that deviation. The reason why your monitoring is telling you are not getting it right. So your 3 steps in there, and then you come out with a corrective action. Principle 5 is verification. What is verification? Trying to establish whether what you've done is giving you the right results. You verify whether it is okay. Verify. There are several ways of doing the verification. Then eventually you come to principle 7, where you have to do the documentation, the records, and go on and on. So you start at principle 1 from which stage? In the process stage, which stage? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So your records and documentation is the last word stage of HACCP. This paper is enough for those of you who want to go and help other companies to implement HACCP. Summary, that's it. So don't write theses, long theses, and get people confused. Or let's do it as simple as it is so that others will be able to follow. So I'll go off my share. And now those of you who are on the chat, 7, let's see, before I'll give you. I said that ones that we're not able to go through, I'll give them to you. At your leisure period, read them. If you have any questions, any areas that you don't understand, send your thing to me. I'll have the time to answer.
Okay, so Fred, were there questions?
Yes.
Not many. So from Godwin, your boy is asking, if the firm has ISO 9000 and HACCP certificate, is it still necessary to go in for ISO 22000?
Good question. Very simple, good question. Put the two together, do some document review gap. The areas that is not addressed by any of these two standards, create that and add it. Simple. So 22, when I give you the paper, when you go to 22,000, I'll tell you the foundation, the basis, the approach. So 9,000, you have it perfect. Add HACCP, finish. Together, that's 22,000. Okay. So you can put the two together, harmonize it, and when that is done properly, there may not be the need, but you have to subject your system to 22 audit. Are you with me? The one who asked the question, yes. So you don't need to, you will not even spend more time, but if you don't have any of this in place, trust me, you will struggle to get 22,000. And now that is why some companies have even made 22,000 so simple. So now they are moving higher. That is called what? FSSC, Food Safety Standard, which is higher than 22,000. And that training is also higher than 22,000 training.
Okay, so the next one, we try and stay in. Somebody wants you to throw more insight on what you mean by personal hygiene. For personal hygiene, what are they expected?
Good. If you have GMP manual, the elements of personal hygiene should be incorporated. For instance, don't wear long fingernails. You wash your hands before you resume work, once you've left your place of work. Those of you who want to wear the Osama bin Laden beard, you should cover it. There is a cover. If you don't have it, shave it off. The ladies will wear their cap. Okay? You do not talk when you are processing. Don't pick your nose. Don't cough over the food. Don't touch the food with your bare hands. Good. So when we get a very strict quality assurance manager or quality control officer, he will treat you like when you were in the primary school. Your teacher will examine your fingernails. The teacher will examine your hair. These are the hygiene. It's a habit. And when you go into the codex, you talk about good hygienic practice. Is there several elements. And normally we incorporate that into our GMP manual. So that's why I said the prerequisite, if you don't have it, you will have a challenge. And I've given you the routes, what should be considered in the prerequisite. Do you pack your finished product on the bare floor or on pallets? What kind of pallet? Is it the one treated, or just you cut wood, go to, what do you call it, Abosoka timber market, and they cut some pieces of wood and they prepare a pallet for you? Has that pallet been treated? Because it contains what? Insects. So you are bringing what? Another challenge, what is a pest control into your processes. Okay, these are all prerequisite good practices.
Okay, so yes. From Nora wants to know the differences. I mean, based on your chart, the picture you show, the
HACCP tree, yes.
The HACCP tree, and then the PRP. What are the differences?
The difference between the two?
Yes.
I said the HACCP method is divided into two sessions. Okay? And we are looking at it like a tree. The PRPs will constitute the roots. If we have a very good foundation, the roots of a tree is good, getting nourishment, good nutrition, the tree will grow to be very healthy and will give you good fruits. Okay, so we are saying that all the PRPs are requirements from the codal standard that you should have them before you implement a HACCP system. Okay, is that okay? So the PRPs completely different from the HACCP system. And I was even trying to tell you the HACCP system, you are looking at the soft part of the system. The hard part is the PRPs. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Mr.
Yes, go ahead. Nora.
No, between the and the PRPs.
Sorry?
I want the difference between OPRPs and PRPs.
The difference between a PRP
and OPRPs.
Ah,
yes.
You studied hazard before, eh?
Yes,
one of
please.
the confusion, that's why I'm saying that it depends on where you were trained. Let me read the definition of OPRP. OPRP, are you ready? Because this one, I'm not giving you, this one I charge, but I'm giving you the foundation. OPRP, you call it operational prerequisite programs. Okay, first, you identify, you see, they are all part and parcel, we call the control measures. I'm starting from the basis. What are the control measures? Implementing a PRP is a control measure to eliminate a certain hazard. Okay, then you come to PRP, prerequisite programs. It's a prerequisite program, activities, actions, things that you do to eliminate or reduce hazard to what acceptable level. So it's an action that you have to take. Okay, so I've mentioned some of them. I'm talking about PRP. The next step is OPRP, operational prerequisite. Because your question asks for operational prerequisite. All this you have to do HACCP study or HACCP analysis to be able to identify and say that it is something that we have to take charge of. So through that, you can identify certain hazards. But in terms of risk, they are low risk. All low risk things that you've identified, you can use a PRP to resolve. Are you with me?
Yes, please.
You get a medium risk. You can't use PRP to address medium risk. So you move to OPRP. So we are saying that it's identified by hazard analysis, the same analysis, as essential in order to control the likelihood of introducing food safety hazards or the contamination or the proliferation of food safety hazard in your product. And that may even come from what? The environment. But when you did your hazard study and the analysis, it falls within medium risk. For high risk, the only control measure is CCP, critical control point. So you introduce this because ISO has a similar term they call CCP or PRP, but in between is OPRP. And most often it is by a device. Hello?
Yes, please. I'm here.
When we are using magnets, magnets, not magnet, metal detector. I'm saying this, get this clear. Magnets to attract and remove all hazards related to what? Metal pieces, okay? And this will only address what? Ferrous metal. Metals that can be attracted by a magnet. Most often, you use OPRP when the action, the specific action relating to the process, and you say it's critical for the food safety. But in terms of severity, it is not very serious. So it's medium risk. High risk CCP, low risk PRP, medium risk OPRP. You know this question, the reason why you ask the question, I have something which I'm trying to educate. It just came in, by the way, because the company submitted their HACCP study to a consultant and was having a challenge where they mentioned OPRP. And I educated the consultant about this. That concept is not well. It doesn't sit well with some people because they are the old school. Sorry, I have to say it this way. The old school.
Prof.
Yes.
Prof.
Yes, Doc. I'm listening.
I want to ask a question. Now that we have the ISO 901, we have the HACCP and then ISO 22000. Can we update our packaging?
Oh, yeah.
Our packaging indicating all this as advantage over our competitors.
Yes, you see, when you get a good person, coach or practitioner to help you develop your system, is looking at all the new issues. You said quality is a moving cycle. It's so dynamic. The issues that we were concerned with in terms of food safety 10 years ago has evolved to a certain level that you cannot overlook. For instance, if you don't mention allergenic products in your product, you may have problems selling a certain market because allergy is becoming a health concern issue. Have you heard somebody just chewing groundnut and the following morning their face is swollen? What is the cause of that? These are some of the things that when we are labeling now, you have to. So you do a disclaimer. And you add that into your system that this is your allergen declaration. So if you have that issue, that challenge as a human being, please don't go near our product. Even some product containing some types of milk. So you have to declare that. So that is why I'm saying that if you pick the labeling requirement 10 years ago and try to apply it today, you may have challenges in selling in certain markets. So it should be very current. It's like a currency. The value of it is detected today, not 4 or 5 weeks ago. So that is it. So all these pieces of information that you gather from literature, make use of it so that you will not have challenges. Because some auditors will gloss over it, others will not. So that is the answer. Yes.
Fred,
yes.
I think his question, yes, what you've said is relevant, but his question, if I get it, was that if the company is certified to ISO 9001, 22000 HACCP, and they put it on their label to tell the world that that's what the question is about.
No.
Yes.
When you are promoting your product, you are selling. These are the comparative advantages that you have. Are you with me? For instance, I'll give you, maybe it's not related to food. When you are buying Interplus, what is the catchphrase? An ISO 9000 certified what? Company. Did they put it on their label? No. So it's the marketing gimmick. ISO 22000 certified company. And some now, we even have the multiple certification. Petrosol have 3 certificates certified to. We call it a multiple. It's looking at the environment issues, it's looking at quality issues, and it's looking at the health and safety of its staff. But you don't put that in on your label. You can, as part of your marketing thing, but don't put it. That is just to sell. Is a competitive. So, Charles, thank you for the clarification.
Right. And then one more question from Mary Opoku Minta. It says, under what circumstance can a product be rejected, a product certified by GST, be rejected by another African country? Yes. And then before you take this question, whilst you take the question, we would also, still with microphones muted, we want the world to know, just as we always say, what we do. Exactly. So if you don't mind and you would want us to show your face in our social media post, which Linda will be doing before we end, kindly turn on your cameras with a smile on your face, but muted. And then we continue. Thank you. Fred, please go on, continue.
So there is one thing that, you know, when we talk about quality infrastructure systems, and that will relate to conformity assessment. Always there should be mutual recognition of certification, mutual recognition by other conformity assessment bodies. If you don't have that agreement or that understanding, then the conformity assessment of another jurisdiction can reject a product that has been certified. For instance, a product that has been certified by Ghana Standards Authority. There are several reasons. So peer review, go for that mutual understanding. They will also assess your processes and determine whether it is acceptable or not. For instance, when it talks about laboratory, if your laboratory has not been accredited as a testing facility for conformity assessment, I will advise, before you give them any assignment, contract to test, find out whether the laboratory has been accredited to do that type of job. Otherwise, you carry it across borders and to be rejected by another conformity assessment. So that is the scenario. This quality thing is a serious business. And I will say that monkeys play by sizes. If you haven't grown to that size, please don't go and disturb anybody. So we need mutual recognition. One of our challenges here is to do business with our Nigerian counterparts. The reason is that their certification or system certification is mandatory. Here, it is not mandatory, it's voluntary. So what compels them to sign an agreement with Ghana when it comes to certification? Sorry? Certificate. Come again. Listen, I'm listening. Oh, so that is the challenge. And I think this thing has been, even within Ghana, the stakeholders involved in conformity assessment, some do not recognize work coming from other players, especially the laboratories. So please, if your laboratory is not accredited to do a certain specific test, don't disturb the manufacturer. So that is it. So Charles, that is why when we meet a very strict conformity assessor, you will turn it down. We say you don't recognize. And sometimes the reason is like what this gentleman, Kafu, was saying, that you don't have personnel certification system in Ghana. Personnel that you have been certified as, they say, arc welder, as a teacher, as a pediatric nurse, if you don't have that kind of accreditation, your counterpart elsewhere can turn you down.
All right. Thank you very much. Frederick Nate, your hand is up. You may go ahead. Whilst before he talks, there was a question, was how do we get access to the training materials? I have put a link there. We would send the materials to people who registered for the training. So if you've not registered, you will not get access to the documents. So it's in your own interest to register, go on the link, register. Linda put it there, also put it back so that you would have access to the training materials. And tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m., we'll have the second session. Yes. So Frederick Nate, please go ahead as we try to wrap up.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. I just want to say that because the question was related to the product, Fred has given all the mutual recognition agreement and all those the conditionalities. But if after all this, your product does not meet the requirement, it will also be rejected.
Of course.
So it means that you need to do the implementation in a manner that will conform to all the standard that we talk about.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Please, my advisor, don't cut corners to get your product certified. If you do that, it will come back and hurt you. Because you see, there are records at GSA regarding the application from A to Z. So if you are challenged and said, what product standard was used to certify, let's say, your Bankum, what are you going to say? It means that you went through some dubious means to get that product certified. Because without a reference standard, the product cannot be certified. So like you're saying that Rev is perfect, you have to go through. And that is why the credibility of the conformity assessment body is online. If you have the credibility, there wouldn't be any stumbling block for signing that mutual recognition of other conformity assessment body. Okay. So serious business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. On this note,
hello, Prof.
Yes, go ahead.
Prof.
Whoever is talking, please proceed with your question.
Go ahead, please. Who wanted to ask a question, please?
Okay, so at this stage, we thank Fred for taking us through today's session. Tomorrow, same time, we would be here. If there are other lingering questions, it will be answered. So please, we encourage you to use the link to register and also join for tomorrow's session. So once we're done, we would send the available training materials to everybody.